Chapter 8. When I First Met My Mind. A story of Chris, the soul, and Mons, the mind. Introduction. The story. Beneath all the stories. Before you enter this chapter, you must understand what it really is. This is not a story about events, achievements, or years. This is the story underneath all of those events. The story of how a boy slowly divided into two parts, how a young man learned to survive with only one of them, and how, much later in life, those two parts finally found each other again. In this chapter, you will meet Chris, the soul, steady, intuitive, curious, unbroken. Mons, the mind, shaped by misunderstanding, hardened by pressure, strengthened by survival. You will see how the soul leads a child, how the mind rises to protect an adolescent, how trauma silences the soul, how responsibility overwhelms the mind, and how, years later, the two finally meet to build a whole person again. This is not fiction. This is not metaphor. This is the emotional truth inside every human being. Now step in with me. Part 1. Before I knew I had a mind, in the beginning, I thought there was only one me. A boy running through the veld, a boy feeling everything fully, joy, curiosity, fear, love. A boy who didn't think about life. He simply lived it. That was the soul, though I didn't know the word then. My earliest memories are sensations. The rustle of veld grass behind the house, the cool shadows of the forest behind the tracks, the excitement of building traps and dams, the comfort of being held by people who loved me. My soul lived freely, my mind simply absorbed, without interpretation, without fear. One felt, the other learned. This was the quiet beginning of our journey together. Part 2. The First Shadow. It happened on a simple Sunday afternoon. The cousins and I stood at the gate waiting for ice cream. One by one, the vendor handed out the treats. My name didn't get called. No intention, no malice. Just a small human moment. My soul felt the disappointment and moved on. My mind whispered its first wrong interpretation. Maybe you weren't chosen because you're not as wanted as the others. And because I was a child, I believed him. This was the moment misunderstanding entered my life. A seed so small, I didn't even know it had been planted. Part 3. Where feelings learn their names. Childhood is not understanding. It is interpretation. My soul felt everything purely. Joy in the green strip behind the house, courage in the forest behind the tracks, shame when the glasses made me a target, loss the day the telephone rang, protection when Amanda stepped forward. But the mind was the one writing meanings. Be careful. Don't stand out. You must be strong. You must manage alone. Don't let them see your weakness. You are responsible. Some interpretations were helpful, some were wrong, but all of them became beliefs. This was how thought and feeling began forming inside me. The soul felt, the mind interpreted, and I lived according to the interpretation, not the truth. Part 4. When my mind spoke louder than my soul. It happened quietly. One day I looked at myself wearing glasses and my soul whispered, "It's nothing." But my mind whispered louder, "Now they see something wrong with you." And for the first time, I listened to the wrong voice. From that moment forward, my mind moved in front of me, not out of pride, but out of protection. The world was getting louder, the soul was getting softer, and my mind believed he was the only one who could keep me safe. Part 5. The years of becoming. Adolescence doesn't begin with a birthday. It begins in the corridors of a school, where invisible rules dictate how you must walk, talk, belong, survive. This is where my mind grew strong. Don't show too much. Think first. Stay controlled. Be responsible. Don't fail. People admired me for it. They didn't know it was armor. I became the boy who coped, the boy who delivered, the boy who behaved beyond his years. But inside, a slow silence was forming. The soul retreating, the mind tightening its grip. I was becoming a man, but not yet becoming myself. Part 6. The Air Force, when my mind became a soldier. When I entered the Air Force, nothing in that world surprised my mind. He understood discipline. He understood command. He understood hiding emotion. He understood survival. The soul has no place in barracks, no place on parade grounds, no place on the border. So he stepped back, not in fear, in strategy. My mind stepped forward with authority. Stand straight, be perfect, don't fail, don't feel. And I obeyed. People saw strength, but inside, the distance between soul and mind became a chasm. Part 7. Early Say Soul, Responsibility and Pressure. After the Air Force, when I entered Sasol, the world rewarded the qualities my mind had mastered. Discipline, reliability, strength, control. Responsibility poured onto my shoulders, and my mind carried all of it. He kept me going. He kept me strong. He kept me safe. But the cost was high. The soul's voice became almost impossible to hear. I wasn't unhappy. I wasn't broken. I was simply disconnected. And disconnection is a quiet danger. You don't feel it until something cracks. Part 8. The shattering years. This was the period that divided my life. The accident. Losing my wife and being injured myself broke something inside me that could not be repaired with strength. My soul absorbed the blow and disappeared into silence. My mind took command because someone had to. He marched through grief with no feelings left to process it. The letter, when the engineer handed me the letter saying, "Chris, you are not academically inclined," it struck the last unprotected part of me. It wasn't about education. It was about identity, the motorcycle collapse. This was not an accident. This was my body speaking the truth my mind refused to hear. I cannot carry this alone anymore. The collapse changed everything. For the first time, my soul stepped forward. Softly, gently, but unmistakably, he whispered, "You are not done. Stand up. Move forward." This whisper became action. Action became direction. Direction became purpose. I enrolled at Technicon, not because the world approved, but because something inside me refused to die. Part 9. Rebuilding from the inside out. Studying again was not confidence. It was rebuilding. My mind worked with focus and structure. My soul stayed close enough to guide, but not yet strong enough to lead. I began succeeding academically, not to prove others wrong, but to prove to myself that I was not the man that letter described. On the outside, I looked restored. On the inside, I was still divided, but the distance was closing. These were the years that prepared me for the moment the mind and the soul would finally meet. Part 10. The reunion. It happened on an ordinary morning when I finally asked, "Who am I really?" The moment the question was spoken, I felt movement inside me. And then I saw him, my mind, Mons, the soldier, the protector, the one who carried my entire life when I could not. He looked tired, worn from decades of survival, and behind him stood my soul, steady, patient, unbroken. For the first time, they faced each other. The mind whispered, "I tried to keep us safe." The soul answered, "I know, and you did." The mind trembled. "I didn't know how to let you lead." The soul stepped forward. "You were never meant to lead alone." The mind broke in relief. "I'm so tired." And the soul said, "Rest. I will walk with you now." This was the first moment of alignment in my entire adult life. Part 11. Walking as one. Life didn't become easier. It became clearer. My mind still protects me. My soul now guides me. One thinks, one knows, one plans, one chooses, one remembers, one understands. Together they no longer fight. They cooperate. For the first time since childhood, I live as one man, not two, not divided, not surviving, not controlling, not running, whole, aligned, myself. If there is one truth this journey gave me, it is this: you were never meant to walk through life divided. Your mind is not your enemy. Your soul is not your weakness. Wholeness is when they walk together. These are their footsteps. These are my footprints. And this, finally, is me.
The letters. Why I always have a plan. A father's letter to his son and his 4 daughters. Dear Reynard, Marley, Maritha, Anibe, and Liana, my children, you once asked me something that stayed with me. Dad, why do you never say or do anything without a plan? Why do you always think ahead, as if every word and every action must lead to a certain outcome? Where did that come from? You didn't say it accusingly. You said it with curiosity, with love, with that honest way children see their parents more clearly than parents see themselves. I want to answer you, not as the man you know today, but as the boy I once was, the young man I learned to become, and the father I try to be for each of you. This is the truth. I learned early that life can change in one moment. When I was young, the world felt simple until the telephone rang one afternoon and everything changed. My grandparents died in a sudden accident. I watched my mother collapse on the kitchen floor. I watched my father drive alone into grief. I watched my own childhood shift. From that day I learned something that never left me. Life can turn without warning, and if you don't prepare, the shock can break you. I never want any of you to feel what I felt that day, unprepared, confused, and powerless. So yes, I anticipate things. I think ahead. I prepare. I plan. Not to control anything, but because I love you. My mind started making sense of pain before I could explain it. As a boy, when things didn't make sense, I didn't get angry. I didn't rebel. I didn't fight. I thought. I tried to understand. Whether it was the day the ice cream cart passed me by, or the day I was bullied for wearing glasses, or the day I stood trembling behind the water tank waiting to hear if Mr. Basson could save my rugby, I learned that understanding pain makes it hurt less. So my mind became a strategist, not to manipulate, but to survive. Today I still do that, not because I am cold, but because your father grew up needing to understand things so he could stay steady. I had responsibility before I had words for it. I was a child, but life often treated me like a little adult, cleaning the pigeon loft, caring for animals, carrying the school bag for peace, learning discipline on the rugby field, standing stronger than I felt, helping where I could, adjusting to new towns, new schools, new rules. Responsibility was not a choice, it was part of my environment. Children who grow up with responsibility don't drift, they don't float through life, they don't go, we'll see. They become intentional, they think, they plan, they prepare. It's not a flaw, it's a muscle developed early, and mine never stopped growing. I inherited 2 opposing forces, and I made them work together. From my father I inherited discipline, structure, and duty. From my mother I inherited heart, empathy, and intuition. My whole life has been an act between those 2 forces. Discipline makes me plan, empathy makes me care, intuition makes me anticipate, responsibility makes me think ahead, purpose makes me act intentionally. I am not one more the other. I am both. I wanted to protect everyone, even before I could protect myself. As a child, I always felt the need to look out for people, to prevent hurt, to keep peace, to make things stable. Some children want adventures, Some chased noise. I chased safety, not for myself, but for the people around me. As a father, that instinct only grew stronger. If I plan, it's because I want to protect you. Your happiness, your future, your heart, your dreams. Everything I say, everything I do, every decision I make, even the ones you don't always understand, comes from the place in me that wants to keep you safe. I don't manipulate. I prepare. There's a difference. Manipulation is selfish. Planning is protective. Manipulation uses people. Planning guides them. Manipulation hides motives. Planning has clear intention. When I speak with purpose, when I think ahead, when I create structure, when I look beyond the moment, it's never to control you. It's to give you clarity, stability, support, and direction. It's because I know the cost of chaos. It's because I know how quickly life can change. And it's because I love each of you more than you will ever know. You 5 are the reason I am who I am. You are the greatest part of my story. Every time I plan, I am thinking of each of you. Every time I prepare, I am imagining your future. Every time I speak with intention, I am trying to build something that can hold all of you safely. I don't always get it right, but I always mean well. I don't plan because I want to control your lives. I plan because I want to guide you, support you, and help you avoid unnecessary pain. I want you to live with purpose. I want you to walk through life with freedom. I want you to know your strengths, your gifts, your value. And if my planning sometimes feels intense or direct or predictable or irritating, it's only because my heart is involved in everything you do. If I could tell you one truth, it would be this. Everything I do with intention, everything I say with purpose, every plan I create, comes from one simple place. I want you to have the life I didn't always have, the clarity I didn't always have, the security I didn't always have, the protection I didn't always have, and the love that I learned to give because life demanded I learn. You once asked me, why are you programmed this way? Maybe the real answer is, because I was shaped this way, by life, by loss, by love, by responsibility, and above all, by the desire to protect the people who matter most to me. My daughters, my son, you are the outcome I live for. You are the reason I think ahead. You are the reason I seek purpose. You are the reason I care about meaning. Everything I plan is simply another way of loving you. Your father, Chris. A letter from my soul to my children and grandchildren, from the footprints of my soul, my beloved children, and to my grandchildren who may one day read these words. There comes a moment in every life when a person pauses long enough to ask the question that has followed them like a shadow. Who am I? I did not find the answer in books, in success, or in the titles the world gave me. I found it in the dust roads of my childhood, in the storms of my adulthood, in the quiet courage that comes from surviving what you do not speak about, and in the grace that arrives when you finally understand your own soul. Today, I want to tell you who I am, not as the man you know, not as the father or grandfather standing in front of you, but as the soul inside me who has walked a long road to reach this point. I tell you this so that someday when you ask, who am I? You will know that the answer is already being whispered to you by your own footprints. Who I am, from my soul to you. If I lay down all the roles, all the plans, all the responsibilities, if I stand still in the center of my own story and listen, this is who remains. I am a soul shaped by childhood dust and adult storms. I am the child who ran barefoot into the green strip behind our house. a boy who believed the world was wide and full of secret adventure. That part of me still lives. It is the dreamer inside me, the open gate seeker, the part of my soul that never stopped believing in possibility. That child is Chris, the soul. But I am also the boy who stood at an ice cream gate and learned that unexplained hurt becomes a story the mind carries for decades. That pain created the thinker in me, the one who observes, prepares, predicts, and protects. That part became Mayan's, the mind. I am the child who crawled through a broken fence into the forest behind the railway tracks, not to rebel, but to see what lay beyond. That part of me still crosses fences, emotional, mental, spiritual. I still believe that freedom carries consequences, and that wisdom comes from stepping into the unknown with respect. I am the child who saw death too early, who watched his mother fall to the floor and felt the world tilt. That moment planted responsibility inside me. It taught me to plan, to anticipate, to never assume tomorrow belongs to us. It taught me to love fiercely, because I know how quickly a voice can disappear from a doorway. I am the boy with the thick glasses, teased and misunderstood, until a girl named Amanda stood between me and the world. From her courage, I learned empathy. From her kindness, I learned humility. From my fear, I learned that strength often begins borrowed until it grows into your own. I am the young athlete who waited for a rugby ball to come down from atop a cupboard until his marks improved. That moment taught me that dreams must be earned, that discipline is freedom, that responsibility builds character, that integrity is not optional. I am the boy cleaning a pigeon loft for pocket money, learning work long before understanding adulthood. Watching those pigeons return home from the sky taught me loyalty, routine, and the quiet holiness of returning to what is true. I am the 16-year-old soldier who learned that strength is not in force, but in standing steady while loneliness shouts inside you. I carried that loneliness quietly, and from it learned endurance. I am the father who discovered love in 5 different shapes, each child unlocking a different part of me. One teaching softness, one teaching patience, one teaching courage, one teaching gentleness, one teaching truth. You showed me that a father is not the man who always knows the answers, but the man who always shows up. I am the man who seeks purpose, not as a luxury, but as oxygen. Without purpose I feel unanchored. My soul needs direction. My mind needs structure. Purpose is where they meet and walk together. I plan, not to control but to protect, not to manipulate but to create stability. I plan because I know chaos, I know fear, I know what confusion does to a child. My planning is my promise to you. I will prepare the path so you do not have to stumble where I once did. I am a storyteller, not to impress, but to connect, to show that every wound has wisdom, every mistake has meaning, and every child becomes an adult shaped by events they never chose. I believe that every experience leaves a footprint on the soul that walks within, and none of them are wasted. So, who am I? I am the sum of every story in this book, the boy who became the man who became the soul who is still becoming. I am someone who believes in responsibility over victimhood, growth over excuses, giving myself instead of giving things, learning from life rather than blaming it. I am a man shaped by his footprints, grounded by discipline, softened by loss, strengthened by purpose, humbled by love, and carried by the people who walked beside him, parents, teachers, friends, comrades, my children, and those I have loved deeply. I am still learning, still growing, still discovering who I am. But if I must answer your question in one final sentence, the sentence I hope you will one day answer for yourselves, I am a soul that survived, a mind that adapted, and a man who finally understands why every footprint of his life mattered, with all the love of my soul. Your father, your grandfather, Chris.
I walked 1,000 miles in silence, left my footprints in the dust, not knowing that each broken moment was shaping who I'd become. I carried questions like a burden, dreams I didn't yet understand, searching for a sense of meaning, guided by a greater hand. Every wrong turn, every fall, every wall I couldn't see was a doorway to the man life was quietly making of me. These are my footprints in the dust, every scar, every trust, every step where I learned to stand when the road was rough and unjust. I see it now, the path was clear, even when the night was long. I wasn't lost, I was becoming, learning where my soul belongs. I've worn the weight of expectation, wore a smile, hid the pain, built my armor out of discipline, learned to walk through fire and rain. Some roads led me into darkness, some into the light of grace, but every step left its imprint, every moment had its place. I thought strength meant never bending, never letting others see, but the cracks became the windows where the truth found space in me. These are my footprints in the dust, every scar, every trust, every step where I learned to stand when the road was rough and unjust. I see it now, the path was clear, even when the night was long. I wasn't lost, I was becoming, learning where my soul belongs. One day I turned and looked behind me, saw the boy I used to be. He was braver than I remembered, carried hope quietly. I bent down and traced the footprints in the sand of yesterday, and I thanked every road I walked for leading me this way. These are my footprints in the dust, not mistakes, just moments of trust. Every lesson, every tear led me closer to what's real. If you're walking in the dark tonight, unsure of where you stand, trust the road beneath your feet, you're guided by a greater hand. So I walk on, a little slower now, with purpose in each step I choose, leaving footprints for those who follow, so they'll know. They were never lost, they were becoming.